Is this your first documentary?
Yes, it's my first documentary film. When I see something, I write. When I want to, explain something better, I write.
Can you just share briefly what the documentary is about? Was it difficult to get these people to talk? Were they hesitant? And especially because there were, I think, COVID restrictions also were very tight around that time. So how are you navigating that?
We have people who are falling sick right now. We have people who are working from home. We have people who've lost their jobs. There are all kinds of things that are happening.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Round the Frame podcast, where we invite filmmakers, industry guests to discuss their processes, journey, and basically people who are shaping the future of storytelling. We get to talk to them and listen to their story. Round the Frame also conducts these competitions, short filmmaking competitions, mobile filmmaking competition, in which if you can submit in any of these, you are in and you can showcase your talent and connect to the right people. I am your host, Molshri, and today I'll be talking to Runa, whose film Maa Toh Ashbei was part of Round the Frame Recommends and also won Best Cinematography. Am I correct, Runa?
That's right. Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so
Welcome.
much. It was a very big surprise and it was lovely to receive such honor. Thank you.
So, Runa, you are a journalist, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get into like making this documentary? Is this your first documentary like this?
Yes, yes. This is very interesting for me as well because I think in terms of writing. Writing is all I do.
Hmm.
So from my childhood, I have been, when I see something, I write. When I want to, explain something better, I write. So obviously, I went into journalism. And there also, I was interviewing people, writing down what they were saying. So it's always been very natural to me.
Hmm.
So this did come as a surprise because this was one story when I, kind of reached at it. I realized that this needs a visual medium. And before that, I may have off and on thought of, how do I, do more than what I currently do. And it was a very bad time, the pandemic.
Hmm.
And still, that was the kind of time when everybody was kind of thinking, rethinking, having retrospection about their lives and stuff like that. So I also came to a point where when I went to this particular place, that's another part of this answer,
Hmm.
I realized that this needs to be shot, this needs to be documented, this cannot just be written into a news article. So that's where it came from. Yes, it's my first documentary film.
So how did you then go about it? Did you have like a camera? Did you do everything yourself?
Yeah, yeah. Most it was all as you say, it was very DIY. It was a lot of learning from tutorials. It
Hmm.
was a lot of reading PDFs, that you find available about various concepts and technicalities. And how I started, yeah. So I have a Fujifilm, I have a DSLR. So a lot of the film has been shot on that, and there are some that I have shot from my mobile phone as well. So yes.
And so, can you just share briefly what the documentary is about and what exactly inspired you during that time to make it?
Yeah, so like I said, there was this other part, right, to the question. So that, so I'm a Bengali, right? I have been brought up in Delhi, and then I've been to Kolkata many times because that's where my parents belong.
Hmm.
So what used to happen with us was Durga Puja, I'm sure you know, is a very big festival for us. It's the one time we all look forward to collectively, right? So
Hmm.
it also has kind of tiny traditions around it. One of which is that, a month or so before, in advance, there are these idol makers,
Hmm.
yeah, who start working on the idols, the sculptures, right? And they are like the most Indian artists you can find. They work with mud, soil, clay. Uh, they half of them don't speak anything other than their own native language. Uh, they are only doing that year round, and they are sitting when they're not doing that. So
Hmm.
it's a very different sort of half the time they're not even a part of the formal economy.
Hmm.
But so yeah, so from the 1 month or 2 months in advance they start working on that, right? So I used to be taken there as a child, and we used to start. So my parents were very particular. They were like, see, this is where you get it from, this is where it starts. So what you see, the grand idols that you see in these puja pandals, is the final product. So it was always very fascinating to me.
Hmm.
In 2020, what happened? Everything was at a standstill. We were at our homes. But, we were at that point in time where, these idol makers start working. So I really wanted to go to their workshops and see what is happening.
You were in Kolkata?
So I was in Kolkata that time. Somehow I was stuck in Kolkata during the pandemic, which is great
Hmm.
because that is such a creative place in itself. You want to read books, you want to watch movies, you want to write more. It's something in the air.
Hmm.
So it was that time, and I was like, listen, I'm wearing my mask, but I'm going to go see what they're up to. I'm sure they've started making the idols, it's that time.
Hmm.
So I went there and I received the shock of my life because they were doing nothing. Absolutely, they're sorting flies, and it was a very different, atmosphere. They weren't smiling. They weren't yapping. They were upset. They were like, "We don't know what we're going to eat because we haven't got any orders."
Hmm.
And that is the time when you've received orders. It's been months. So, and they're not working on anything. Like these were empty workshops.
Hmm.
So that was the time when I realized that, okay, so I can I just, speak to them. So I spoke to one workshop, the one next to it. And after an hour, I was like, I need to do more than just, um, talk or discuss, because how am I even helping? How am I even kind of archiving this or
Hmm.
documenting this very sad part of history that we've all lived together?
Hmm.
So, and I also knew that writing will not do enough. So that is when I took out my camera. I asked them, can I start? You guys can talk. You guys can tell me whatever you feel like, and I'll be documenting this. So they
Hmm.
were like, we are doing nothing. You're not seeing us in our finest. We are not even molding something right now. So why do you want us? I was like, no, no, this, because we are not going to, public memory is very short.
Hmm.
We forget. So I would want to remember this. This has always been a very vibrant time for me. I'm sure it is for you. This is business time for you.
Hmm.
And you are here sitting like this. I am feeling this certain way, and I want to document this. So that's where it started from. And I started visiting them a lot. So for the next 3 months, I kept visiting them. I kept shooting. So I have over 200 minutes or so of footage, I think. And then I kind of put them all together. And once I had all of that, I was like, there's no way I'm wasting this.
Hmm.
So the minute things ease up, I'm going to put this together. I'm going to make this, I'm going to learn whatever I need to learn to make this into a film. So yeah, that's the starting, and that's where the vision kind of took shape.
So, was it difficult to get these people to talk? Were they hesitant? And especially because there were, I think, COVID restrictions also were very tight around that time. So, how were you navigating that?
Yeah, so it's all very different when you're shooting at that time. Even when you come to filmmaking technicalities, it becomes a little different when we are talking about shooting or doing stuff during the pandemic, right? So the workshops were mostly empty. They were wearing masks. They didn't really want to speak.
Hmm.
And like I told you, the first day or two, I did not even bring my camera. I had just gone there out of my own, keeping pace with my own traditions. I had gone to see, how much has the idol of the, goddesses come up, and I was like, okay, nothing has happened.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was a little difficult because they said we don't have anything to say except bad things right now. So I was like, okay, and that's also life. And we have people who are falling sick right now. We have people who are working from home. We have people who've lost their jobs. There are all kinds of things that are happening.
Hmm.
So it's okay. Please speak to me the way you would want to. So
Hmm.
then they opened up and they realized that I didn't ask a lot of questions. It was only when I was, something came from what they were telling me
Hmm.
that I asked them more. So it was very natural, very organic,
Hmm.
and many didn't want to open their masks. So that was a difficult. So there are parts of the film where the audio might be a little muffled to you.
Hmm.
There are parts where suddenly it's very loud because then there's no traffic outside. So
Hmm.
I kept all of that. I had the option of not keeping, but I said, let's keep it like that because, when a rickshaw goes from Kolkata, it's essentially very Kolkata, that sound. So please keep it.
Correct.
So if a man refuses to open his mask, it's okay.
Hmm.
He's trying to, we are all trying to kind of, self preserve at this point.
Hmm.
So let all that be a part of I went in with that in mind. Okay, let this just flow.
And you must have also basically then gotten some sound equipment to record, and you were also doing the camera yourself. So
Yeah. So
one person team
that
that
came in.
was.
Yeah, that came in a little later. I realized they need a label, so that came in bits. So there are parts where you'll find the label. There are parts where they're not there.
Hmm.
So because in the beginning I didn't have it,
Hmm.
and it was so quiet outside because we didn't have people, right? So
Hmm.
it was the workshop. It was one idol maker, and it was me, and probably his pet dog lying around. So
Hmm.
there was no noise, there were no disturbances to begin with.
Got
But
it.
with time, like I said, 3 months, right? So
Hmm.
by the middle and the end part of the documentary, we have more people, we have more noise,
Hmm.
because the Durga Pujas were initially cancelled.
Hmm.
And then slowly the government kind of decided it can be very small scale, but let's have the festivities. So then you hear more people, then you see them sitting and working. They're also a little high pitched because now they're excited.
Hmm.
They also have assistants because suddenly now there are a couple of orders and now they can't work alone.
Right.
So it kind of builds. Yeah.
You see the whole journey in your film, and it's truly
Yeah.
you took us back to that time from the very first COVID patient to the rising numbers and the cyclone. So,
Yeah.
how did that um, come along? Like after you shot, what was the editing like? How did you decide that I need to include this context for the film?
Yeah. Yeah, so that would be a bit of my journalism background because it's not a fluff piece. If I would be writing, I would have to have an introduction where I'm talking about the situation at hand,
Hmm.
and then kind of going to a micro situation where I'm talking about the idol makers,
Hmm.
right? So I had to show that, and this is my first docu, so I wasn't very clear about that, but I knew that if I am a viewer and if I'm an audience, I would want more context.
Hmm.
Like, say, if I'm from UP, I don't really know much about Durga Puja.
Hmm.
I know, Maharashtra celebrates Ganpati, Calcutta celebrates Durga Puja. But I would not know that there are idol makers who are working on it 2 months in advance, or that, that is their rosy roti. And if they don't have that,
Hmm.
they're basically sitting at home, four people at home, and, like they were talking to me. So it's the ration we are getting. There's nothing else right now,
Hmm.
so things like that. So there was a need for context, so that's where the whole journalistic ethics and guidelines came handy. I
Hmm.
knew there has to be a beginning where we need to discuss the pandemic and then kind of zero down to Calcutta and the work. This whole Durga Puja economy, it's called, right? And
Hmm.
it was like completely, it had hit rock bottom that time. The editing process was very, very long, deliberate, and um, it was a little difficult because my editor was a Gujarati
Hmm.
sitting in Ahmedabad.
Oh.
He needed context. It was very difficult to have meetings.
Hmm.
But I knew I wanted to do this sooner than later. I didn't want to sit on it.
Hmm.
So there were meetings on Zoom when we were just discussing, and I was just trying to tell him ke what Durga Puja is, and I needed him to have that context to be able to edit.
Hmm.
Even then, he was like, "Ma'am, you know a lot more than I do about this. So
Hmm.
can you just come sit with us and watch this with us and be a part?" So I was like, "Okay, happy to." So it took a lot of time. It was literally, manually we were writing down things like we need this, we need that. And then after watching, I was like, oh, we missed that part completely. I
Hmm.
need that as well. So we need a pictograph for this. Can you do a video of the prime minister, putting this whole ban on, getting out?
Hmm.
So yeah, it was a very deliberate process, tedious, but very nice. When in the end you kind of look at it, you realize that okay, it's a story, it's telling itself. So yeah, but the editing was probably the longest process of it all. The sound, like I said, there wasn't much to do with the sound because there were a lot of sounds that had been carried into the audio that
Hmm.
I didn't want gone.
Hmm.
uh yeah, so if there was a dog barking, if there was a rickshaw going tant, I wanted all that
Hmm.
because then you would feel you're also in Kolkata.
Hmm.
So there were some calls you had to take, but mostly editing was, I went very sequence wise.
Because I'm sure
It's how
200 minutes
my
of,
news articles basically.
sorry.
It's how I generally treat my news articles. So I
Oh,
went like that.
so you wrote
Yeah.
like you did a paper uh,
Yeah.
cut of the
Yeah,
edit.
yeah. There were a lot of drafts where I wanted the sequence, where I added some. Then I realized this is a very, inside knowledge kind of thing. So we can do without this.
Hmm.
This is something very Bengali households will know. It's okay if, it's not in the documentary. So
Hmm.
there was a lot of cutting and adding. But yeah, many drafts and many little written notes to my editor.
Were there any moments like when you were shooting or when you were going through the edit uh, that really stayed with you or were like very surprising for you also as a journalist, like when you talk to someone, any moment like that?
Yeah, yeah. So the interviews were kind of, they really touched your heart when when you hear them. So there were these moments when this person was saying that one of these idol makers was saying that I come by train to work. So this workshop that I come by train. There are local trains in Kolkata like Bombay.
Hmm.
So most of the people travel by those. So he used to come up and down every day to do his work.
Hmm.
What happened during the pandemic was he stayed back in the workshop, and that's not his house, it's the house of his the person who's hired him, right?
Hmm.
So he basically stayed in the workshop for months and months. And then he is telling me that his elder son had just passed college and he didn't have a job because he passed and the pandemic happened, so
Hmm.
there were no offers for him.
Hmm.
So when you hear those things, then you kind of want to keep the camera and just kind of take some moments
Right.
because this man is sharing his entire life with you.
Hmm.
But you can't do that. So you're kind of holding on to it. There were some peculiarly funny moments as well.
Hmm.
Like there were interviews a person was giving while constantly coughing.
Oh.
So that kind of, played tricks with your head that, oh God, how long can I,
Hmm.
have this particular interview or short, but he's also speaking about something very intense.
Hmm.
He's talking about the price of everything
Hmm.
and then how it translates into selling an entire idol and how this time it was nothing. It was a loss
Hmm.
making venture altogether. So there were moments like that. And then they were also sharing how they've lost people to the pandemic.
Hmm.
And they were very afraid to even open the workshop. One person said, I'm very scared of letting you in,
Hmm.
but I'm doing it now. It's been a week. I don't know why I'm doing it. So, yeah, there were moments. And, when you're editing, when you're looking at all the footage, you keep on rewinding and, remembering all that. It's a
Hmm.
very personal experience as well, filmmaking.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow, that must have been an experience for sure.
yeah,
What,
absolutely.
then how did you, after finishing the edit, how did you think of taking it forward as a film? Were you sharing it in festivals or what was the process?
Yeah, so it was made, and the last part was the music.
Hmm.
I wanted something very authentic. So we got a musician on board who had to, again, he was not a Bengali or he was aware of folk music from Bengal.
Hmm.
I wanted him to, thoroughly listen to a couple of Baul Shongit.
Hmm.
And then he came up with these couple of tunes that were amazing. So that was the last part. We put all that in, and we made a trailer, and we were kind of ready.
Hmm.
So I knew it had to go to festivals. Of course, I wanted to put it on YouTube first of all.
Hmm.
But then, everything requires kind of prepping and homework, and I didn't really know a lot about what from here. So I studied and I realized that, this can go to a lot of places and
Hmm.
it can compete.
Hmm.
Uh, People can watch. If it gets screened, nothing like it.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So the next step was that I applied to a lot of places, and I was very happy. It went to Stuttgart. It was competing with documentaries like Writing with Fire.
Hmm.
It was that year, and I was just very happy in general. Like, it didn't matter, the winning, the screening beside
Hmm.
something like Writing with Fire. I It was one high after the other after that, because it got selected in a lot of places, a couple of festivals. It got honorable mentions. It
Hmm.
won best short documentary.
Hmm.
uh, Many places. So then there was the Melbourne International Film Festival, Indian Film Festival of Melbourne, IFFM. So it also got screened there. It was also online for a month.
Hmm.
So it's all been very glorious after that. I'm just happy it's reaching shores, people are getting to watch it. I think that's the biggest high.
Yeah, that you also get to know
Yeah.
immediate feedback from like people
Yeah.
who are watching it.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So that kind of review. So when it was made, I sent them to my sister and my best friend
Hmm.
and four, five other people, and they're like, "Wow, this is amazing," or "Okay, this took time to sink in what we just saw."
Hmm.
We forgetting the pandemic? Oh, are we? So I was getting these kind of WhatsApp messages from my friends. I was like, "Yeah, I think we will forget. If not now, in a
Hmm.
couple of years we will." So it's good, we have kind of posterity sake, it's there for us to watch.
Preserving this, yes.
Yeah, and also fresh eyes, because I see it from a very personal angle. I see it from
Hmm.
very close quarters. So when my best friend, who's not a Bengali, she
Hmm.
watches it and tells me, wow, so okay, Durga Puja is much more than just going to a pandal and doing Mata ka darshan. And I'm like, yes, yes, it's bigger than that. And this year it's completely different. It was nothing like that.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah, you actually trace the roots of
it's great.
the Durga Puja also. That was very interesting.
Yeah,
I also got to know
yeah.
so much. It was very informative.
Thank you
So,
so
did the
much.
idol makers get to watch the documentary? Did you share it with them?
So I couldn't visit them for the next 1.5 years.
Hmm.
In 2 years, I did go to them. I shared the link. So all their daughters and sons study. They're all in English medium schools, and
Hmm.
they know how to use the internet very, very nicely. So
Hmm.
I gave them my the private screener, and
Hmm.
they've all watched. There has been a screening in Calcutta, Nandon Theatre,
Hmm.
which is like an iconic theatre. It was like founded by real stalwarts of Bengali cinema.
Hmm.
So it was screened there, and I had given them the, okay, please go watch it.
Hmm.
One of them had been able to come, so they watched it. They find it very fascinating.
Hmm.
They're like, "Oh, I said this. Oh, I said this. Oh, okay, amazing. Yeah. Oh my God, what times?"
Correct,
And
correct.
like
Now they
that.
must be in a different stage because that has
It's
passed.
bigger, it's better. People are kind of making up for the losses of 2 years.
Hmm.
So the Durga idols are like, some of them are 70 feet high, 100 feet high. Like this time we had a Durga idol that was 80 feet high. They were comparing it to the Great Wall of China, one of the pandals. So it's a very big affair. And now they're like making up for lost time.
Hmm. That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Are you also looking to make more documentaries now that you've made this?
Yeah, yeah, I am. I have an idea in my head. I'm also writing a book. It's so all these creative things take a lot of time,
Hmm.
and they also, um, you are very easily distracted. you
Hmm.
also kind of work for a living.
Hmm.
So all these things come, in the way of
Hmm.
trying to make something. There is an idea, yes. It is very interesting. Again, it might be something that not many people know of, and but right now it's just like a seed germinating. Uh,
Is it
I'm
also
also
based in Kolkata?
collaborating. No, no, that's not. So I am right now. I'm working and living in Ahmedabad.
Okay.
So this has its roots in Gujarat.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
And you were
but
saying
it's
about your.
very initial phase of anything really.
Hmm.
And I am hoping to, do a couple of more workshops, learn a few more techniques, uh, and start.
Got it. And you were saying you're collaborating also with someone?
So yeah, there is another documentary filmmaker who's trying to make his second documentary,
Hmm.
and I am right now in the stage where they want me to write the script. So we've just started. I'm helping them draft
How does writing a
something.
documentary work?
So it's basically it's very kind of helping somebody know that this is what you have to go ahead with. And
Hmm.
they kind of use it more like a reference than anything. So, and once it's kind of, you've kind of understood that this is how you want to go about it, then you're done. That phase is over. And then there's subtitling or whatever. And
Hmm.
then you just kind of remember if you've missed something and if there is narration,
Hmm.
then you need a script, a proper script.
Basically,
Like
you
even mine
know
has a
about the
narration.
subject beforehand, so you write that down, and whatever like you discover during that time, you
Yeah.
include those two.
Correct. So whatever you discover is the bigger chunk of it.
Hmm.
Because these things take a shape of their own mostly is what I've realized.
Hmm.
So yeah, you have a very basic reference to start with, what you know and then what you get to know.
Got it, got it. So, but you need to have a base where to start from. Got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Runa, after finishing this whole project from start to end, what are your takeaways after making this documentary? Any lessons, discoveries, or anything really?
Yeah, lessons are many. First and foremost, I guess, I think documentary filmmaking is an amazing, it's an amazing process altogether.
Hmm.
It's very eye-opening.
Hmm.
While you are making something, it's also teaching you a lot of things. Whatever the subject that you choose, you kind of learn so much about it. It is also what kind of attracted me to journalism, to know about everything,
Hmm.
uh, you know throughout life. You're learning about something, you're interviewing someone, so there are so many aspects to what constitutes daily news, what constitutes your surroundings. So documentary is basically that. It's finding something, a subject, and then kind of diving into it.
Hmm.
So that is, the more you keep studying, the more, like I said, I needed context. I wanted to add more to what I was seeing and share more for people who don't know as much about this particular subject,
Hmm.
right? So that. Secondly, of course, there's no end to learning. There's so much more to be learned technically. Better framing to do, better sound ideas, audio ideas, and everything.
Hmm.
And yeah, you really can do with a team, though filmmaking is very intimate. It's for me, it's like, I wouldn't want to share or mix two ideas together. I would want to be kind of going with my own idea. But that said, you really need a team. You need more people to work with you. Like you need an editor. There are different
Hmm.
people who come with fresh set of eyes and mentalities and kind of thought processes, and their education is different than yours. So
Hmm.
it's all, it all makes it very rich. I would want to collaborate with more people in my next documentary. I would want to learn more, much, much more than what I know right now, and probably bring in more elements for whatever is next.
And where can we watch Maa Toh Ashbei? Like anyone who's listening to this, is it available anywhere?
So right now it's still a part of a couple of film festivals. So
Okay.
I have not really, yeah, so I have not put it on YouTube.
Hmm.
There are these websites where you can watch, the movies and documentary films that you want to. I
Hmm.
have been approached
Hmm.
to make it a part of one of those.
Hmm.
I will eventually. But right now, it's available only from, say, festivals to screenings. If they are keeping it online, if the
Hmm.
festivals are done online, then definitely everybody across the, place can see. Uh, in a year or two, it will be available on YouTube for
Great.
sure.
And we'll be
Yeah.
following your work. Are you working with some uh, news channel or paper right now? Where can we follow your work as a journalist?
So I am an independent journalist. I have written for Times of India and India Today and many, many other organizations.
Hmm.
Right now, I'm an independent journalist, so I kind of write for everyone.
Hmm.
So if you just kind of look for me, there will be articles from kind of spanning across genres and places.
We will
So
definitely.
that I also am an editor. So I edit children's books and everything.
Oh.
Uh, there is a book I've written. It's a book on short stories
Hmm.
that's available on Amazon. And
What's
there
it
is
called?
another, it's called Your Truth, My Truth.
It's a children's book.
No, no, it's a it's a collection of short stories on new age relationships.
Okay.
I thought the world was changing too fast, too soon. And I kind of wanted to put a couple of stories out there of whatever I was. So all of these are very real stories, but obviously you turn them into fiction. Yeah. So that book is there. I'm trying my hands at a novel, but
Wow.
again, I am not even 1/4 there. Uh, so all mediums really.
Wow. We can also expect more documentaries and films and books all coming from
Yes,
you.
absolutely. Yes, yes.
So, whenever Maa Toh Ashbei goes public on YouTube, do share the link. We will
Yeah,
attach it with the podcast.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
anyone who's listening onto this, you can Google Runa and Runa Mukherjee, read her articles, her books, Your
yeah.
Truths. What was the name of the book?
Your truth, my truth.
Your Truth, My
So
Truth.
the basically the meaning, if it's a little lost, is that we all kind of look at things from the way from the place we stand,
Hmm.
right? So what is real or truthful? What's your truth might be different
Hmm.
than somebody else's. We all are born differently. We our privileges are very different.
Hmm.
Uh, so what you think is right is absolutely right, but probably from where you stand.
From your perspective.
And yes, so that is the meaning of the title.
And any message that you would want to give to aspiring documentary filmmakers who have like meaningful stories to share? What would you want to say to them?
Please start working on your dreams. Don't keep it in your head.
Hmm.
Don't wait for a pandemic for that push. Please do not. uh, Whatever idea is brewing, please give it some kind of execution. Make it. Please don't wait for it to be kind of perfect. Whatever you're doing, it will kind of come to life. It will have its own journey.
Hmm.
So and for documentary filmmakers, the going is a little tough out there,
Hmm.
but there is no need to fret. I mean, as a creative person, you know what you have to do. You have to do. If you want to write something, you have to write something. It's not going to stay inside.
Correct, correct.
So just please just do it. More action, less thinking, and marinating in your thoughts.
Wow, that is really inspiring. That also popped a question in my head that you must have funded the whole process of making this documentary yourself, right? Correct. So,
Yeah, yeah. Not just the
self-funded.
documentary, it's just that there are so many good ideas that keep coming, right? And we kind of brush them aside.
Hmm.
Work takes over and things like that. So this was basically more generic, that please do not sit on your ideas.
Hmm.
With the documentary, yes, had this I had this obstacle where I was questioning my own self.
Mm,
that, oh, I'm essentially a writer, I'm essentially a reporter, a journalist, can I do this? Then I realized we are in this century where the internet is at our beck and call.
mm,
If I want to study, if I want to learn something, I can. There is nobody stopping me. There are people who have stories to tell. You are holding a camera, it's not that difficult.
That
Yeah.
that's very inspiring. Thank you, Runa. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
and sharing your journey, your process with us. I'm sure anyone listening to this would be inspired to tell their own stories and get going now. Thank you so much for coming.
I would be glad if they do. Thank you. Lovely speaking to you.
Same here.